I'm Billy Hollowell, and welcome to Newsmakers, a show where we bring you interviews with pastors, actors, entertainers, and other notable news figures. On today's show, we're going to be getting into some fascinating topics, but before we do, if you are not subscribing to Newsmakers, make sure you head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe right now. Give us a rating. We love 5-star reviews. This is a show where you're going to dive deep into important issues with amazing people. With no further ado, here is today's show. On today's Newsmakers, we're talking with Cathy Tenedorio, the mother of Matthew Tenedorio, one of the victims of the New Orleans terror attack. She joins us today to talk all about her faith journey, and she was on the show recently, but she's here really to talk about the NFL and the Super Bowl and how she and her family and her son were honored on the field, including having President Donald Trump join them on the field as well before the Super Bowl. She breaks all that down and tells us how her faith is doing amid so much pain. With no further ado, here is Cathy Tenedorio. Cathy, it has been over a month now since your son Matthew was killed during the New Orleans terror attack. And you and I spoke weeks ago. A lot has happened in the time since we last spoke. How are you holding up?
As best as I can. I go to church every Sunday. I read my Bible. I pray. I'm just, holding on to my faith. That's the main thing. That's all you have to hold on to, and your loved ones, family and friends, and
Yeah.
been back at work, and my husband's gone back to work, and
Trying to move forward in life in a new normal that is not what your
yeah,
normal was a month and a half ago.
correct. Yes. Yep.
One of the big things that has happened as we're having this conversation just hours ago, your son and the other victims, they were honored at the Super Bowl. You were there. Talk about that experience. I mean, it looked very moving.
It it was very moving. It was we were invited to be part of course, just a sports experience that is off the charts, the Super Bowl. So, and they honored the 14 victims, the first responders. They invited two families, the Tenedorio family and the Besh family, and that's such a wonderful family. I met the mom and dad for the first time. Um, their 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 son Tiger's best friend Ryan, he was injured. They were on the first block of Bourbon when the truck first came on, turned onto the street. They were hit instantly. Tiger was killed instantly. The friend, um, he said, I woke up in the hospital. I didn't know what happened. I didn't remember anything. And his leg is broken and just all kinds of things. It was his first time visiting New Orleans. It's so sad. And he never wanted to come back again, but he lives in New York City, and the Philadelphia Eagles invited him, said, please, all expense paid, we'll bring you to the game. And once they found out they were in the playoffs. Anyway, my whole point of telling you this is he was so kind and cried and, said, why did I live? Kind of. It was
Yeah.
just beautiful. It was just beautiful.
You know,
So,
and really the fact that they chose to do that, the NFL, that they chose to take this moment and honor your son and the other victims.
yes,
And you
yeah,
were on the field as well because you guys were the honorary captains at the toss. I mean,
correct.
what does that mean to you? Just like you've gone through so
It's just
much.
so, it's just, it's very comforting, and it just makes me feel special. And it breaks my heart for other parents who experience this loss, or family members, and don't have this big, attention. And I just always think of others. I always think about how, I'm so blessed. I'm very, very honored and blessed. I'm very humbled by it. And I just, wish this could happen for everyone, that everyone's life was celebrated like my son's life has been.
One of the other things about this was that President Donald Trump was present. He was at the game, and
Yes.
you sent me a photo of you with the president. What was
Yeah.
that like? What did he say to you?
Very, very awesome. When you're in the presence, God says that you'll be in the presence of, kings and whatever, and don't even think about what you're going to say. Don't just be there. He'll give you the words to speak. And it was a quick moment, but he was very nice. He shook Ryan Quigley's hand, and then he came and shook my dad's hand. It's a big kind of moving flow of the river, so you just have to go along with it. But it was very, very, very awesome. It was
Did you get the sense from him that this was something deep and important for him to do, to
sure.
greet you, to be
Yes,
there?
absolutely, absolutely. That he came, and at that time he could have just gone, and been up in one of the suites, protected and safe. No, he came down, met with us, met with the first responders, took a picture with us, and then it was very. I feel like it was very important to him.
Did he say anything in particular, to anybody that you heard as he was? I know it's a quick moving
Well,
moment,
he says thank you for your service to my dad. Because my dad's Army, um, per, his service in the Army, so he always says that. But he's just didn't particularly say anything to anybody. Just
Yeah, yeah, greeted you all,
yes,
and
yes, yeah.
you know, I have to ask you this. I asked you this question weeks ago, and we were just days after these events of the attack happening. How has your faith? You're a strong Christian. You mentioned you're going to church every week. You're moving forward in this new normal. How has your faith been impacted over the past 4 or 5 weeks as you've been navigating all of this loss?
My faith has grown. Uh, I feel like I need my church even more, my community, my community groups. We go to them once a week. All of that's very, very important. It's that you don't close yourself off. Don't be the lone wolf. Don't go. You have to have your brothers and sisters. It's very, very important. Not just your family, but your community. So my
Absolutely.
faith is strengthened when you have a loss like this of a life. um you have to look at your own life and determine what path are you going to take.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one thing that has struck me about you and getting to know you a bit and interviewing you, even in the midst of your pain, as we were days away from what had happened when we first spoke, thinking of other people, focused on the needs of other people when you are
Always.
there grieving.
That's
I
my
mean,
my parents taught me that. My dad would bring strangers home to stay, people that he worked with that we didn't, that needed a place to stay for a couple of days, or he'd always stop on the side of the road. We'd be like, no, Dad, don't stop. But that was him. So I was taught that my whole life. So I've always done that, always helped others. And I will
yeah.
never stop doing that
You
until
know,
my bank account is drained. I won't stop doing that.
that is powerful and important. And when we spoke last time, we talked about the fact you didn't have many answers about Matthew. And I don't know how much you want to share. There's no pressure to share anything you don't want to share or that you can't right now. But in speaking with authorities, have you been able to get more answers about what happened to your son that day?
Yes, have total wonderful closure because God allowed me to have that. We met with the policeman. His name is Adam Sauter, and he, by a miracle, we found out everything that happened that night. Not only, of course, there's videos out there that I have not watched myself, but my family members have, my sister, and I don't care to watch it. I don't need to know, but we were able to speak to Detective Sauter, and he was on the scene right after everything happened. And at first, he didn't see Matthew because he was under the truck. And he was attending to other people, the man in the wheelchair and the woman that was trying to comfort her fiance in the inside the truck. And he went, they're taught their protocol is to help the most gravely injured on the scene. So that was what he did. He went and attended those people, and then something kept telling him to go back to the truck, and that's where Matthew was, under the truck. And he tried to pull him out. He goes, at first I didn't even know he was there, and then I could see him under there, so I tried to pull him out, and his foot was stuck. And then I got another police officer to help me, and we got him out. And he said Matthew was trying to breathe, and he was unconscious the whole time. He never gained consciousness, never spoke. He was just somewhere else, he said. And he said, but his body was like a reflex trying to get oxygen.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry, Cathy. I'm
I
so
know
sorry. I'm
it's
sorry.
okay. It's all right. But finally they were able to start CPR on him, and they got him in the ambulance, and then that's where he died. We don't have autopsy report quite yet, but that's it. We were at least a wonderful man. He's a Catholic, and he's very wonderful person.
And
Was with
Cathy,
my son, and he prayed for him, and it's just too beautiful.
because I know there were so many questions in the beginning about, where he was when it happened and, whether the
Yeah.
truck was involved or not. And I know
Yes.
as
Yes.
hard as these details are, being able to have closure and understanding what exactly happened, I imagine does, despite the difficulty, bring you peace in knowing.
It does. It brings me peace. I don't need any more answers than that. The manner of his death is homicide, so that's never going to change. But the secondary, um, you know, he's
Yeah. Well,
he's at rest. He's at peace, and a wonderful, kind man was with him, making that transition.
and I'm very grateful that you know that now, that you have that information, that you were able to get it, because sometimes people are not able to, and that you know that you
Or
have that peace. I have to
yes.
ask you as a final question here, because people are hearing you and how strong you are in talking about these details. They've seen you do this now numerous times in media. You've been very open. You've spoken with us twice. Um, what would you tell people if they're struggling with something in their life, if they're going through a loss and they're really having a hard time, and here you are, you have this strength and you're persevering? What is it that you would tell them? What advice would you give them to find that same strength?
I would just say, just you just have to go on. You have to live your life, and to be the best person that you can for the benefit of others, because we're not here just for ourselves. There is a purpose, and if you don't know what your purpose is, there's a saying that I just love, and it says, if God is making you wait, do what waiters do, you serve. Okay, you just have to just your purpose just could be just to help your parents in your everyday life, or you know your children. Do the right thing with your children and help them be the best that they could be with their school. And that it might just be an everyday thing, but just take one step at a time, move forward. If it's a drug addiction, people that overcome drug addiction, they're my heroes, because they stare at a beast every single day, and just to get over that, to face that every day. I don't have that issue, but I know people that do, and they're my heroes. They really are.
Yeah,
If you
well,
can be sober and get through that, to hold on. But one
Cathy,
day,
for a lot of people, you're their hero right now, and I
no,
mean that. I mean that. I think the way that you've carried yourself is
I hope I can inspire
incredible.
people. people. Yes, not to give up,
Absolutely.
not and just move
Absolutely.
forward.
And that's what you've done so beautifully. I appreciate you taking the time today. I really
Thank
do.
thank you, Billy.
Thank
Thanks.
you. That's all for today's Newsmakers. I'm Billy Hollowell. Make sure you head on over and rate this show on your favorite podcast platform. Let your friends and family know to listen as well. We have new episodes Monday through Friday on your favorite podcast platforms. You can also watch the Newsmakers TV show on the CBN News channel. That show airs once a week with 3 incredible interviews with newsmakers. Be sure to head on over and watch that, and also head over for more interviews to the CBN News YouTube channel and cbnnews.com. I'll see you again very soon for another Newsmakers.